this is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
One of the worst feelings is to feel helpless while those you love are in pain. Wanting to come to the rescue, just not knowing how to do it. Seeing those around you drowning and realizing you cannot swim. You try your best to throw a life preserver, not realizing that you grabbed a rock instead. The trepidation of possibly making the wrong move or saying the wrong thing leaves you in a constant state of anxiety. The helpless feeling can lead to a hopeless mindset, and before you know it, you are drowning with them. Healing from trauma is a lifelong pursuit. Those willing to walk alongside those that are hurting, ingesting that pain, becoming traumatized by association. Working together over time is the pathway to building a lifelong bond. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Falaise, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. On this episode, this is one that everybody has heard these names numerous times, but tonight you're going to get a chance to meet them. I have Sherrie Allsup sitting in with me as the co-host, and tonight we welcome Trisha Donaldson and Sherrie Allsup. You've heard these names over and over on this podcast. Tonight, you are going to hear words out of their own mouth. So thank you both for coming.
They're not fictitious.
No, they're not fictitious.
Real. We do exist.
You do exist. Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, and we certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. Also, tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So both of you have, hopefully, you've watched a couple shows. We didn't just pull you in here cold. We take a question from our audience every week. This question comes from Steinway to Heaven, which I thought was pretty cool.
Steinway.
As in Stairway to Heaven,
Yes.
right? What was the most significant turning point in your life? We all have these moments in our life where our life sort of just switches, and they can either define us or they can propel us into the next level. So, Trisha, I'm going to lead this one right off with you because nobody's heard your voice yet. So I'm going to go with you. Actually, you know what? I have a secondary social media question is it appropriate to break down cardboard boxes prior to putting them in the recycling bin?
He did not say that.
No, I'm just kidding
I
you.
hate breaking down cardboard boxes. It hurts my hands.
See, that's why she doesn't do it.
I've told him before.
And this is
thinks I'm a man.
And this is my life. So anyway, Trisha, what was the most significant turning point in your life?
Well, definitely after you were shot at as a police officer.
Yeah, that was a tough time. We had a bit of a rough patch.
It changed a lot.
Yeah. Are you crying already?
No,
We're like
I'm
2
not.
seconds in.
I'm not. Are you crying?
No.
I'm not crying. Are
But
you?
what?
Good.
So what did that do for you? Did that make you weaker, stronger?
I think both, actually.
In what way?
Well, I had it at the time. I had an 8-month-old and a 3-year-old. So I had to worry about what the hell was going on with my husband. If he was going to be able to work anymore. I had to worry about the safety and the care for my children. So it wasn't easy.
Sherrie, same question.
Mine was probably not a moment. It was more of a stretch. And that was watching Sherrie transition from being a victim to a survivor. She used to call me her kite string, where she could go off and do wild things and go out there and do things. She doesn't need a kite string anymore.
I keep telling her that.
She soars on her own.
I keep telling her.
And watching her do that has been just an amazing part of my life.
She doesn't need anybody. She constantly feels like she needs somebody around. She doesn't need me. Like I'm like window dressing. Actually, I'm window dressing like with this face, you know, I brighten up the day. But yeah, she's pretty amazing. She's pretty amazing. Sherrie, what do you think? What was the turning point?
I would have to say a huge turning point, probably the turning point in my life was my suicide attempt. And when that failed, then I made a decision to take my life back. And that was when I had been in therapy for years, but that's when I started EMDR and I began to take my own life back. I took my power back.
Chicken voodoo, as you like to call it.
Yeah, that's it.
Chicken voodoo. It is a weird thing. It's strange. And since then, since I did an episode with a woman named Anna Peishin here, who's a therapist, and brought her in here for EMDR. Since then, I've had probably 10 therapists who do EMDR call me up and reach out to me. And I've had 10 times that amount saying, hey, what's this EMDR stuff? It's crazy, but it works.
I'm glad people are learning about it because it does work.
So mine's not a negative one. You know, I could say my childhood trauma, I could say my shooting, I could say all these different things that negatively impacted my life that have now become strengths in my life. You know, and it took a long time to turn them into strengths. But there was a moment. I was sitting on a street, Catherine Drive. I know exactly where I was. I was actually just screwing around on my phone. I was in between going to one job to the next, and just pulled over, sitting around on my phone. And I always say that this is when I truly felt what a miracle is. It was like an invisible light was shining down on me, and I wasn't watching or listening to anything in particular. Nothing sparked this. And it felt like something came in and grabbed my heart. No, I wasn't having a heart attack, Trisha. But it felt like something came in and grabbed my heart and softened my heart a little bit. And I remember sitting in front, and it was like time didn't exist, and I was crying, and it was what I consider a true miracle in my life. It was God. I know for 100% certainty that it was God, although I couldn't see him, touch him, taste him, smell him, or hear him. I could feel him. I could feel that grip on my heart, and what it did for me is it compelled me to know that leaning into my faith was the right move. And all I did was just lean in harder after that, because everybody's looking for proof. Everybody's looking for some sort of definitive sign. And that was it. And if that wasn't it, I'm totally blind and missing the truth. So that's kind of what suffering does, right? So my lifelong suffering, it can either blind you from the truth or propel you into the next level. So that's my defining moment. And that was just recently. And from there, springboarded a lot of different things, a lot of forgiveness in my life, a lot of people who've done me wrong to just say, hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to forget, but I'm just not going to let you hold power over me anymore. So Steinway to Heaven, thank you so much for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So I finally got you two in here. And there's my wife over there looking at me, judging me. It's just, what are you doing? But no, listen, you're both talked about frequently on this show. When Sherrie comes in, it's Gary this, Gary that. I'm actually tired of hearing it.
And when we work, same thing.
Same thing.
When we're speaking.
It's the same thing. You both come with us when we work. Mm-hmm. You are essential parts of our story. So this is why bringing you both in here, because we're not you. We're looking at it from the outside in. You both had to try to figure out our messes when we didn't know what was going on. So it's important, because there's a lot of people out there that are going through the same things that you went through, watching your partner decline, fall. And I think hearing it from your side rather than us just telling from your side, I think it's going to have some value. Thank you both for coming in.
I agree.
So let's start off real quick. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? I'm going to go to Gary first, since I don't want to put Trisha on the spot. Gary, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been married to Sherrie for about 22 years. I've been married twice before then. I like to tell people that I screwed up twice, and so I made every mistake, and so I hope to not make the same ones again. Not a complicated guy. I'm a very simple guy. I like simple things. I like family time. I like getting ready to retire in a couple of years, getting ready to spoil grandkids even more, those sorts of things.
That's the good stuff in life.
That's the good stuff in life. That's what the payback for.
Yeah, the grandkids, because you get to spoil them rotten and then send them home.
Spoil them, feed them sugar, and send them home.
That's right.
I was fortunate I had the greatest grandfather in the world. That's the one stability thing that I had as a childhood. I had the greatest grandfather in the world, but unfortunately he couldn't be around all the time. And I tried to give that to my kids. Unfortunately, I never could land that plane.
Well, I was born to Ward and June Cleaver.
That's what Sherrie says.
She says that all the time, and it's very true. I had the most idyllic childhood
It's disgusting.
everybody could imagine. Grew up on a little private lake, and we went water skiing every night, and motorcycle riding all day long. And
How did you get in this studio? Usually you got to have some sort of crap to get in here. Just sit right there.
That's your crap? No.
And I'm the one that's supposed to be digging on my wife. And
hey, if she's going to co-host, she gets some of the digs.
that's, thank God, she's there to deflect. So, Trisha, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself? What they didn't hear from me.
Okay, my name is Trisha Donaldson. I am a personal trainer and a health coach.
You're a mother.
I'm a mother. I know. I was just gonna say that I'm a mother of two amazing, amazing, amazing boys. I could not ask for any other better kids because they are amazing.
They are pretty cool. Sometimes. They can be assholes every once in a
They're
while.
respectful. They're everything a mother could ever ask for. And I actually give a lot of my career to my husband. I will never forget the time that my mother actually told me I was struggling in college. And my mother said to me, you know, honey, maybe college just isn't for you. And my boyfriend at the time, who is Kevin.
And then there was me and her boyfriend, just so you know.
One boyfriend, Kevin, he says, I disagree. He's like, listen, Trish, C's and D's get degrees, just get one. So my husband, Kevin, who's an amazing man, pushed me along and I did graduate. It took me a little longer than others. He tells me usually they're called doctors. I'm not a doctor, but I do love helping women get in shape, get healthy. And that's my passion.
Sometimes a little, so Trisha dives into her fitness more than anybody else, you know. That's her therapy. That's her piece. That's where she finds herself and loses herself to some time where I have to tell her, Trisha, you got to back it off a bit. You're going to hurt yourself. You got to back it off. And, but one of the things that I'm happy about is with age comes pain, right? You get those, like, you'll sleep wrong, right? You'll sleep wrong. All you're doing is sleeping. And you're like, man, what the hell did I do to my shoulder? I remember Trisha always telling me, well, age is just a number. I'm like, no, age is pretty real. Well, she recently had one of those pains pop up. And I'm like, see, age isn't just a number.
I'll work through it.
But listen, I'm grateful. Trisha was very hesitant about doing this. Gary dove right in and said, yeah, sure, let's do it because you're too calm. You got to get some anxiety in you or something. You're in New Jersey.
What's that like being married to a calm man? Please tell me.
Yeah. So if you both can think back to, you know, you got together with your significant others at some point in your life thinking, hey, this is just a person that I'm interested in. I'd like to go out on a date with them or whatever it may be. In Trisha's cases, she pursued me like a cheetah on the Serengeti. Listen, I know
my mom made me.
I know I'm married up. I know you're looking at Trisha and you're like, why is she with this guy?
Damn.
I know I'm married up, but I can talk. That's my saving grace. I can talk. But at some point, you both had to find out about your partner's trauma, which is kind of the reason why we're here. What was the first inkling that your partner had something, or was it an event? Trisha, I'm going to let you. I know the story, but I'm going to let you tell it.
Well, growing up, I had a very laid back father. He was very, very, very laid back. In fact, my mom would yell at him, Frank, take out the garbage. And he would be like half asleep.
Don't ever do that voice again because it reminds me of your mother.
I really didn't know what anger was until I met you. I know that's awful to say because, like I said, my mother was just like a screaming, yelling Italian, but she never was angry. Maybe crying because that's what women do when they're upset.
So the yelling you didn't perceive as anger?
Not really. I don't know why. I don't know why. No, I've never saw her be like yelling, screaming, and I don't know. There's a difference to me with like screaming, yelling, and being violent than just screaming and yelling. Like,
Well,
go brush your teeth. You know.
I will
what I
tell
mean?
you this. I will tell you this because I even prior to marrying Trisha, I went over her house, her grandmother's house for a holiday, and I used to drink. Well, I would drink a lot back then anyway, but I drank extra because the noise, the sheer volume of noise, because it was this person talking over this person and this person talking over this person, and you couldn't hear anything. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, this is
You used
crazy."
to say sold.
Yeah, it was like an auction, and I couldn't believe it. But that's you. It didn't even faze you,
No, it didn't. Mm-mm.
you know. And it to me, it was like, "Oh my God, this is chaotic."
But it's interesting because when I took the boys to go eat dinner with my mom and my sister, my boys were like, why do they talk like that? Because we don't really get together a lot. It's sad, but we're just.
But you fight. It's like you're fighting for time to be heard.
It's like yelling and screaming. There's really not a lot of talking. So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know. I was helping Kevin move into his new apartment because he just left his old apartment. And we were cleaning knives and utensils. And I cut his sponge. I will never forget that. And he screamed at me, like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that? And I went home crying to my mom. He screamed at me, like, probably called me stupid because he did use words like that back then. Being young and naive and just wanting to be with a cop with muscles and was handsome. Like, I let it go.
Well, honestly, who cleans a knife with the blade down?
I cut the sponge. I did.
I still to that day remembered it.
59-cent sponge.
Exactly. Right?
So-
Get a new freaking sponge. How about that?
So if I'm looking back on that particular incident,
Is that the incident you were thinking of?
well, that's one of them, but
Oh, there's more.
there's way more. But that one particular incident, and I know this now, and Eddie didn't know this then, and I did freak out. This is 100% true. This I'm not hiding behind anything. I didn't have anything back
No,
then.
you did not. I know.
I had no money, and I was flat broke, and I was trying to make ends meet, and I didn't have a whole lot. So that sponge, while yes, it was just a 59-cent sponge, it was something tangible that I had in an era where I had nothing. So that, and I'm not making an excuse for it because I do know that's wrong to do, to scream over something
I never saw
insignificant.
a man get like that because my dad, and I married my second boyfriend. My first boyfriend was in high school from
Who I arrested.
6th grade.
I arrested. I'm very proud of that.
He did.
I did.
He had a little bit of a drinking problem.
I arrested him.
18.
How many boyfriends get to arrest their girlfriend's ex?
Well, my mom was Kevin's dispatcher. I don't know if you know that.
I did not.
Yeah. So my mother was saying, let him go. Kevin, he's a good kid.
I remember walking out of headquarters. Sorry, got to do it. Look, it's the law. I can't do it.
My mom's the one who actually set us up.
So you have childhood trauma.
She saw something good in you.
Gary, what's the first time it reared its head?
Well, the first time I knew about it was before we ever even met. We met online, and we'd had a dozen conversations, and we started talking about getting together to meet each other. And
Was it Tinder? No, I'm just kidding.
plenty of fish, maybe.
J-Date?
Match.com.
Match.com.
Only pedophiles and
Did you go through the one ads of OnlyFans?
OnlyFans. Yes.
Actually,
OnlyFans.
speaking of Match, after we got married, we'd been a year later. She's looking through something, and it pops up on a checking account a deduction for a membership at Match.com. I had never been in so much trouble in my life until she called them and said, "Well, we don't know. He hasn't been on this in 2 years." The saving grace. But before we ever met, she told me about her history of abuse, and so I saw it from that point of view.
How were you able to look past that history of abuse? Because I've heard this from Sherrie before, where she just vomited 40 years of information at you.
Well, it was certainly overwhelming to hear it, but I also saw somebody who was very kind, very funny, very interesting, and so I think it's like, okay, I can see what I can see, versus what she's telling me as a history. And I believe in what I see versus the past, I guess, is another way of seeing that, is to, you're asking how to, I'm not sure I overlooked it as much as I just said, I put it into the file cabinet and like, okay, I've got that as a backdrop.
And how old were you when you guys met? Because if you were 20, and I know you weren't 20, but if
40.
you were 20 when Sherrie gave you all this information, you think you would have reacted the same way?
Well, I was 40. I certainly would have reacted differently. That's very true. But when it actually started rearing its ugly head, so to speak, is family get-togethers. Family get-togethers for going to her family were never fun. She went because she was obligated to, but she really had to gear herself up to go. And I can tell you the hardest thing that I did in that relationship is sit in a chair next to her father watching football games and not taking him out and taking care of business.
Wow.
That was hard.
I didn't know that. Wow.
We sweep everything under the rug.
That is, you have an enormous amount of resolve in order not to do that. Because I think now if I were to ever come face to face with him, and I know he's not here anymore, I would, yeah.
It was my job to protect her from then. It wasn't I couldn't go back and fix what had happened. And I knew that if I went back and tried to fix it, it would just make it worse.
Yeah. Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherrie Allsup. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherrieallsup.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
That's crazy to sit next to true evil like that.
It is.
So Trisha, when my trauma started to rear its head to you, sponge incident, there were a couple other things. How did you react? Was it flight? Was it fight? Was it fawn or play dead?
I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. I don't know if you remember this, but it was the incident when, I don't know, was I in therapy before then?
I don't think so.
Do you remember we went to a Christian, remember that guy from church we were going together because I was having personal issues. But anyway, because a therapist had spoken to me and said that's not normal behavior because, again, meeting you so young, you were everything to me. Everything you did in my eyes was correct, but I always knew you had anger in you and you were slightly nasty at certain times. You were looking for cereal. You were looking for cereal in our house. And being a mom of babies, I've had everything. And I had this opened.
This is in the old
Cheerios,
house. Oh, yeah.
All different treats. It was like stuff with cereal and
My
chips.
God, I forgot this.
He was looking for his cereal. I know you did it because I've never heard you talk about this. He literally took everything in my cabinet and threw it down the stairs. Where the F is my cereal? I cannot. He went berserk crazy.
But that was after my shooting.
Yes, it was.
It was after my shooting, and
then you ran down the street and you called cop to cop.
yeah. So what happened was,
which was very helpful.
we had a food pantry.
Food pantry.
It was a bi-level. So there's 2 sets of stairs, one going up, one going down to the lower floor, and I just lost it, and I ripped everything out and threw it down the stairs, and then ran out.
How long after your shooting was that?
It was close. It
a couple weeks, maybe a month.
It was real close.
So what was your reaction? Did you follow him or did you stay with your babies?
I don't remember. I remember him being on the phone. I remember running down the street and he was on the phone, and he did call. He knew something wasn't right. And I was like, but I mean, he knew something wasn't right, but he still was angry and not happy and always walking around like an angry beast. That's the only, and like living with someone like that is so difficult, right? When you're trying to keep your babies happy.
Right.
Well, she had to bear, so after my shooting with my young one, she had to bear the brunt of taking care of the young one because I couldn't take the kid crying. He's 8 months old. He's going to cry. I couldn't take it. I would have to go and I'd put pillows over my head and I'd go out of the house. I couldn't handle it. So she had to bear a lot of the brunt, especially in the younger years of both children. And I know that.
I wish I knew back then that, you know, a man being angry means they're hurting. I never saw it as that.
Did you take it personally?
Of course. Yeah. I thought it was me. Absolutely. Thankfully, at the time, I was on the phone with your therapist. I shouldn't be saying this. I'm not going to say names.
Dr. Stefanelli, he's been in here. He's fine.
Probably every night. Every single night he would talk to me.
You know what my therapist used to tell her? He's fucked up. I swear to God. So that's exactly what he would say to her.
He would want to know what was going on with Kevin every night. And he's like, you're in crisis right now. You can call me anytime. And he would answer the phone for me on a Saturday night. My therapist as well would always answer the phone for me. So
that's huge.
At the time I didn't have great help from my family. It was therapy. That's the only thing that got me through it, and close girlfriends.
So is there ever a time when you were in crisis, Gary, where you were helpless? You just don't know what to do?
Probably pre-Sherrie, yeah.
But not because of me?
It wasn't because of you. That's actually...
Ooh, shock.
So yeah, it wasn't completely perfect. I had a situation where I was homeless for a period of time. And
was this in Liberty, Missouri?
No, it was before.
Shout out to Will.
That's when I was indicted, not when I was in...
It's the greatest story I ever heard because there's this interconnection between Liberty, Missouri, us, and you.
And someday that will be on this show, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt in my mind that
I'm going to get Will in here, the sheriff of Clay County, to come in here with you.
And Will wasn't the sheriff that arrested you, though.
Oh, yeah, let's bring that one instead. But I was homeless for a period of time and trying to figure out what life was supposed to look like. Had just my second wife had filed for divorce. I was homeless. I didn't know what to do, where to look for. So
yeah,
certainly been there.
When you get lost like that and you don't have any compass to help you out, it's scary. Did you have any faith at the time?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
But you hid that from your parents.
My folks didn't know I was
cheerleaders
doing all that stuff. So.
Well, that's an interesting move. So you've both watched Sherrie and I digress before we progress. You've watched all these different things happen. You watched us come to terms with our past trauma, but you've been there. And, what are some of the things that you both tried to do to ease the pain?
I get quiet when I'm going through struggles. I get quiet. I get reliant on internal strength. I don't. And that's probably something that Sherrie has trouble with from time to time is when I get quiet. She doesn't know if I'm mad at her, if I'm mad at the world, if the world's giving me grief at the moment. And sometimes I just need to get out of the house when the babies are crying. And there weren't babies crying, but I just need some time.
So the quiet for women, what I've come to understand is it allows them to make up all this shit in their head. It does. No, rightfully so. I mean, you jump to conclusions And if we don't give you any guidance on what those conclusions are going to be, you're going to make up shit in your head.
Absolutely.
What conclusions have I made up in my head? I'm just curious.
So when I don't talk to you, what are you thinking in your head? When I get quiet, because there are moments I get quiet, I just shut down.
That you're pissed off.
But that's not true.
Okay.
That's not true. That's me trying to retreat for a moment.
I don't think that's a man thing. I think everyone's different. Just my opinion.
Well, women tend to jump to conclusions. Okay, I've been in enough therapy, and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so
we're good.
I'm good. I'm going to play a therapist today. But I've been through enough therapy to say that when you leave that room for open interpretation, 9 times out of 10, it's wrong when it comes from a female perspective. And it's not your fault. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's our job. It's our deficiency to say that rather than fight, I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to accept it. But that's our best thing to do because we don't know what else to do. Where women, most women wear their emotions on their sleeves. You know what's going on. But is that a fair statement? Like, I know when you're pissed off. I could tell you in 5 seconds when you're pissed off. Probably pissed off at me 5 minutes when I walk out of here over the cardboard comment.
I had a therapist tell me to stomp on it with my feet. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I should do that.
Well, there's many other things. There's other things too, but the cardboard semes to be the easiest.
Sometimes you just have to pick your battles, right, Kev?
Picking your battles. Picking your battles is an interesting topic. Because I think everybody in here is is guilty of one time or another picking the wrong battle. Sherrie, what's a battle that you picked that's the wrong battle to pick?
I'm really good at picking everything bad.
Give me an example.
My picker is really bad. Not for you, not you, but everything else. So I don't know.
Feeding Gary Spam for dinner?
Gary would eat whatever I give him. Whatever.
I like the advice you gave us last night, to be honest. I don't mean to interrupt.
Which advice?
You said that, like, you each share, maybe this is off topic. We're talking about pick battles, right? You each share what's important to you.
Communication is important. And there are many times that Gary will say something to me, and I don't know what the look on my face is, but he will stop and say, I don't know what you think I said, but let me take another try at this because I can tell by the look on your face that we're not on the same page. Mm-hmm. And I'm appreciative of that because
that is nice. Yeah.
Communication is difficult for me. And I don't hear things the way he intends. And then sometimes he talks to me like I'm his employee, and that really pisses me off.
And it pisses me off when you say that.
Well, Trisha says something similar. Go ahead. Sometimes I speak to you like
I'm your child. And sorry, but we don't want to be intimate with our fathers. Just saying. Timmy, I'm sorry. That's what I told you before,
well,
right?
Listen, hold on. I got proof that Trisha and I have been intimate twice. I got proof. Yeah. I got minimum 12 years ago, so I'm good. Listen, I'm good. But it's certain things for me anyway get under my skin and they stay there. And I work every single day at it. And I know you don't think I do, but I work every single day on just let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. Just believe it or not, I do not today. We're not going to deal with this today. We're not going to deal with this today. And then something will usually reignite that fire. So,
do you feel like you're making progress?
Slowly.
You're not stagnant.
No, I'm not stagnant.
So that's...
Some days I win, some days I lose. All right? I can't say I have a victory every single day, but I can't say I have a loss every single day. There are my little pet peeves, which she has to live with. Like, I think I've said this on the air, and if I haven't, it's whatever. I eat with the same fork for the past 25 years.
And why? Because
when I had nothing, I had that fork. It sounds stupid. I know it sounds
Only
crazy.
When he's home. He doesn't bring it to restaurants.
No, I don't bring it to restaurants.
I don't keep it in my pocketbook for him.
I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I'm not a psycho. I'll only do it when I'm home. But my kids, and this is the hard part for me, my kids know about that. Like, and they know that's Dad's fork. Don't touch Dad's fork.
Does it have like a white handle? Does it
It's
look
got ridges on the.
It's different.
it's
It's noticeable.
There's a difference between respecting people's needs and tiptoeing around people's issues. I don't think it's fair that my children have to tiptoe around an issue that he has, because I don't want them to scurry if we lose Dad's fork. He's going to have to figure it out like an adult how to.
She threw it away once. You want to see somebody freak out?
on purpose?
No, of course not. I would never do that. I'm sure he thinks. See, he thinks I'm against him.
I don't know. There might have been
No.
some subconscious thing in there.
I'm a mess when I cook in the kitchen. I will admit, like there's just stuff everywhere, and it probably just winds it up in the. He found it in the garbage.
Yeah, I tore the garbage out over.
He
Like
did.
that's it. It was the worst feeling in the world for me. He was
sweating.
Yeah,
It was a full blown panic attack.
It was the worst feeling in the world for me. Like I went into full panic mode. I'm not. It's not my proudest moment, but it's the truth. So
What would have happened if you couldn't find it?
I don't know. I didn't even want to think about it. I don't know. I have no idea. That's a very good question.
Would you have bought another one? Would you have?
I probably, so if I'm thinking about it logically, I probably would have found another one and just started from there. But that's 25 years wasted.
It's got to start all over.
Yeah, I got to
with a new
start
fork.
all over again.
People that don't live with a brain that's so chaotic as those of us who have been years in trauma, we can't control all this nonsense in our head, but we can control these physical things that are silly to other people. And that gives us some sort of sense of control and a fork. And I'm sure I do little silly things.
I see when you need control, and you do need control, and that's fine.
You hear that? It's fine.
Okay. There's a difference though, but does she scream and yell and act scary when she needs control?
No, she does the opposite.
Which is probably not right either, right? And I'm not saying
she just goes quiet,
okay.
and she said the worst thing is she says, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Oh.
It's like the knife to the heart.
Oh.
And she knows it.
Oh, I just recently used that on somebody who like, I'm really disappointed in you. And I think that was the worst thing I could ever say.
It is, because you let them down.
You know, but you get to those certain points where you're so mad that you can't be angry. You're so filled with this. It's like, yeah, I'm so upset. Because I've been that way with her. You know, because Trisha has a tendency to fight dirty when I'm not feeling my best. And it's not her fault. I'm not putting this on her. She's become much tougher over the past 23 years that we've been together. She's become a much tougher person. She's had to chew on a lot more grit than she did when she was younger. So she's learned to fight back, which, believe it or not, I kind of respect. I don't think anybody wants somebody who just lets you punch him in the face all the time. And I never punched you, so stop.
I have 2 deal breakers with you. What are they?
Cheating and hitting.
Right. And you've never done either. So
Punched holes in the
that's why
walls.
I'm still here.
I punched holes in the walls.
People have asked me, "Are you afraid of your husband?" And I've never thought about it before, and I'm like, "No, not at all." I guess that's a good thing. Like people who don't know him say he's scary, and I know he doesn't like that, but he's never scared me.
I haven't ever thought that about you,
That's
that he
good.
was scary. Tell me, how did his shooting change you? I know how it changed him, but how did it change you?
It definitely made me stronger, for sure.
Not in the beginning.
Not in the beginning.
In the beginning, you saw it as a weakness, or as not a weakness.
I never
that's a bad
saw
term.
you weak, Kevin.
No. You. I'm talking about you, where you're trying to figure all this trauma out.
Well, Kevin's always been such a hard-working man. I mean, I used to tell Patrick all the time, Daddy moved us into our old house like overnight by himself. I think I was like 20 years old and my husband bought us a house, and I was doing fitness competitions, and my head wasn't even into buying a house. And he knew he wanted a house. He wanted a dog. He wanted to get married, and he just went ahead and did it. And I kind of just followed along. I was naive and young. I mean, I'm not saying I
So what you're saying is you didn't want the kids. I'll have to tell them
No,
that.
no, no.
So
That's not what I'm saying.
They can have a favorite parent.
But he wanted it, so he did it. And it was always, so it was very hard for me to see him in the basement, not working, in the dark. Very hard. Very, very hard. And at the time, I've always been in personal training. I'm a personal trainer. I said, you know what? What am I going to do if he never works again? So I started teaching fitness classes at a gym. That's back then when they had a daycare. They had it. My kids could go into the daycare, have fun, play with their friends, and I could teach a class. I was making like $18 a class, but it was good for me, good for my children. It got me out of the house because he wasn't working, and it was scary. It was really scary. I didn't know where my life was going to go. I didn't know. I just felt like I had to keep my kid's father alive.
So one of the things for both of you, we have both tried to take our own lives. And I know Trisha didn't know about it for a long time. And Trisha really didn't. I hid it from her because it's not something you leave with. Oh, by the way, I tried to kill myself last night. Gary, how did you find out about Sherrie's attempt?
I was very disappointed myself.
But when did you find out?
I don't even remember exactly. It wasn't very, very long afterwards. It was within a few days. She told me. I knew that she was struggling. I knew that she was depressed, but I saw her moving. I didn't see. And one of the things I probably saw is that she had made a decision. And so what I was thinking was an improvement was her that's made a decision. She had a plan that she was putting together, and I just didn't see the plan.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, I know the idea of being blind to plans. I get that. Trisha, when you found out, because you didn't find out till years later, when you found out, what was going through your head?
I was mad at myself. I
For what?
felt like a terrible wife because I found out when you announced it on your show. That's when I found out. So I couldn't believe that I didn't know.
Not on this show?
When you did the show.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it was like episode maybe like
3. Yeah. It's like that's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But what was why would you feel like a shitty wife? I don't understand.
Because how did I not know? How could I not know? How I knew you were hurting. I feel like a terrible wife for not knowing, even though I was on the phone every night with these doctors. They were trying to tell me what to do, right? In the end, I don't know. I just felt like it was my job to make sure you weren't going to do that.
But if you knew I was heading down that road, what would change?
I guess nothing, right? You really can't stop someone from doing it. But I just feel terrible that I could have helped you a little bit more, I guess.
What you got to understand here, maybe this will give you a little peace with the whole situation, is at that moment, there is absolutely nothing you could have done. Just like there's probably nothing you could have done. Because it wasn't you that we were running from. It was actually you. It was actually you that we were trying to free. Will you agree on that, Sherrie?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You get delusional in your head where you think you're good people and you would be better off without us. And and I'm sorry that you feel that way because you shouldn't. You don't deserve to feel that way.
But I think that that's something that's really important because I had no idea you were going to say that. But the very fact that we both had the same exact feeling of ourselves failing because of what you two were facing. And that's probably something that's much more common than what we would believe.
Just a spoiler alert to those people listening, we did not succeed. So I just want to throw that out there. We didn't succeed. It was a fail.
And we also have a pact that we will never, ever go back there. Never.
No.
Ever.
No, we can't. I mean, there's been a lot of, and I'm not saying I don't hiccup. I do. I hiccup all the time. I take 3 steps forward, maybe take 1 step back. But now here's the difference. I try to focus on the 2 steps that I've made progress, right? Now going through our worst of the worst time, Gary with Sherrie's attempt and Trisha with my attempt, did you ever once think about calling it quits?
Sure. I can't imagine the situation.
Phew.
Am I reading your mind?
Damn, I was like, thank God he said
absolutely.
that. 'Cause I would look terrible.
See, I didn't know that.
See, there's a lot to bear there, and I get it. Like,
And it's, just like she thought that I would be happier if she was gone. There's times that I've said, "Hey, look, you can go spend more time with the kids and less time with me." And
so it's a lot to ingest.
Sure.
It's a lot to ingest. Trisha, I already know the answer. But just go ahead and say it.
It's weird because it wasn't back then when you were hurting that I wanted to leave you. It was after it's like, okay, I've been doing this for not 10 years, not 12, not 13, probably about 15, dealing with an angry man and being spoken to in, not kind ways. So, I have very close girlfriends. And like I said, my one girlfriend said to me, when does Trisha get to be happy? Like, you're what? In your 40s? You only have 40 more good years. This is your life to live too.
How long do you think you're living?
80 at least, right?
At least.
If he can't help himself, there gets to a point where if you can't, you're 50 years old. If you can't help yourself by now, which I think you are doing an amazing job, you're going down the right path. Like, when are you going to help yourself? Not that I would never be there for him, because he would always be my family. He'd always be the children of my father, which he's an amazing father.
Switch that one around.
He would always be the father of my children. I told you this is why I can't do this.
Yeah. So let me put it to you in terms like this, and maybe this will make a little bit more sense to both of you. So did you ever cut your arm, have a cut on your body or anything, and it's a bad cut, right? And as it starts to heal, you'll notice that the skin is real new and real soft and not very strong. Mm-hmm. And the likelihood of you re-aggravating that, I mean, listen, get a paper cut on your finger and you know exactly what I'm talking. The chances of you re-aggravating that fresh new skin that's not as strong as the other skin that you built up, it rips open much easier. So in a lot of ways, when you're healing from all those scars, you're much more vulnerable than you are in a good portion of your life. Before I was cut open with the shooting in that scar, not physically, emotionally cut open, I was a pretty tough guy. You couldn't penetrate me at all. I mean, there was nothing getting through, and I always felt that I was the toughest I've ever been, but it wasn't healthy. I mean, so
and
that
it was numb.
Yeah.
I think you live numb.
Well, I put on armor. I've said this before, so I
put on a mask.
I put on a mask. I put on armor. So because I've been hurt so many times that when you get hurt by something, you put on armor to shield yourself from getting hurt from that again. Police are very guilty of this. They see a dead child. Well, you know what? You just become numb to that, and you put on a piece of armor so you don't get hurt by that anymore. Mm-hmm. People with trauma do the same thing. Until one day, you just can't even stand up. You got so much armor on. I think that's what happened to me. I was ready to fold.
Right.
But you find this stuff out, and, we're out here talking about this stuff publicly. Does that ever bother you?
I think it's therapeutic, and I think it helps you tremendously. And I feel ever since you started this show, it's helped you so much. So that's why I'm very proud of you. And I love that you do it. And I think it's great for you.
Because it wasn't until I realized that I was weak that I became stronger. Mm-hmm. So, Gary, what do you think? Does it ever bother you that Sherrie's out there telling these deep, dark secrets?
absolutely not. She actually has spoken to my employees before and trying to teach them about trauma, and she certainly hasn't gone into the detail that's out there, but she has bared her soul in a lot of ways to tell people that when they see things going on, that sometimes they're the only one that can help. And in my work, there's a lot of maintenance guys that have very they're the ones that are in apartments seeing what's going on, and they're the ones that are seeing ugly things in many cases, and trying to help those maintenance guys figure out that they're the key, and that's something that Sherrie's brought in. And she's actually asked me many times, "Does this bother you that I'm talking to your employees?" Absolutely not.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to embarrass Gary.
It's not an embarrassment, and that's something that she talks about, is that it should be embarrassing to me that she's had this trauma in her life. And it's like, no, that's not an embarrassment. It's not about something that I'm trying to hide from the world. It's saying that she's somehow damaged, and that's not it at all.
So when I went out and started talking about my suicide attempts or my shooting, really talking about it, I never checked with her. I was very self-absorbed. All right. I was just worried about protecting myself, healing myself. And I never thought about the way that it would affect her. So I never talked to her about it. I just did it. Like and that was very kind of insensitive of me. But the new trauma in my life, how I grew up and what happened to me as a child, that I have spoken to her about. And because I know what the path to healing is now, because of I know letting this stuff off my chest is the way for me to start. But that I did speak to you about. And I had that discussion. Were you a little hesitant about me speaking about my childhood trauma?
No.
You sure?
What do you
Because
mean
I know you're worried about the kids find out.
Oh, I'm worried. Yeah. I'm worried about what the kids are going to think.
Yeah.
And if they're going to be, I don't know. I think it's a good lesson, though, to teach kids, right? To be aware of, and
Absolutely.
maybe it'll make sense why we're not close to your family, because we know we're not.
I will echo that secrets are never good.
I agree. Yeah.
That the more you try to bury a secret, the more it impacts you, and sometimes, I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that sometimes the kids, it would probably be good to have that conversation sooner than later.
And I will tell you that I reached out to Trisha, and you know this, and we spoke on the phone when you and I were going to start partnering together, because I needed to know, woman to woman and girlfriend to girlfriend, how do you feel about this? Because I'm traveling with him. We're going to be in the same hotel. We might have dinner together. And I needed to feel where she was, because I didn't want that in any way to be a wedge between the two of you. And she said, absolutely, I want him to do that. And I encourage him to do that. I think it's so good for him. And that meant the world to me. And thank you for that.
Of course. One thing Kevin and I do have, I think, is trust. If I have to worry about my husband traveling with another woman, I shouldn't be married to him. That's just how I feel. And if he was to screw up, just shame on him,
So one of the secondary benefits of traveling is the distance. And I don't know if I want to pose this to you. The distance that Trisha and I have when I'm traveling, it makes me feel very close to her because I miss her. All right. When I was around the house and I couldn't do nothing, I couldn't work, I wasn't allowed to do anything, I never missed her. I took her for granted. All right. But now when I'm not home, I tell her I love her much more. She's Italian, so she's got this superstitious side that whenever I'm on an airplane, the last phone call is, "Oh, I love you," or a text or something, because just in case I go down, that's the last thing she says. Come on.
You do the same thing.
Well, because I want you to know you're loved while you're going down in a burning airplane. We've flown once in the last 20 years, so relax.
How awful. I don't like traveling. I really don't.
But Gary, is that you as well? Where does that traveling, that distance, create closeness?
I think it's healthy for us, actually. It does create closeness. It creates excitement about, because there's always somebody that from every class she's ever done, that she comes home and she says, I know why I was there. I was there for this person. And she will tell me about that person and why she's there. And does it disrupt our life? Absolutely. It disrupts our life. Is it worth every second of it? Absolutely. I would not
I'd say Trisha would have a different take on
Sherrie, I think you would understand this. I can't wait till he goes away again so I could go to Home Goods and buy new carpets, new towels, because I have to hide everything I buy for the house.
Trisha has this thing. For a short time, it was art on the walls, and the second, now it's carpets. It's area rugs.
He's like, do we really need another freaking green plant?
I've had 50 area rugs in my.
You get sick of looking at the same one, right?
Yes.
guess.
He doesn't get it.
Well, yeah. God. What? Okay. That's all I can say is okay. So you've both learned a lot about trauma. You've been dealing with it long enough. And if you had to just give that one thing, the thing that you think is most important to get out there about living with a partner that has trauma, what do you think that would be?
Well, in every relationship, we see our spouse's vulnerabilities and the buttons. Everybody likes to talk about the buttons to push.
Talk about the shoveler right here.
Well,
She throws digs.
yeah, I see that both ways.
Thank you.
No problem. You owe me $5. Okay.
And that's what needs to stop, right? It's not good.
But
to do that.
the digs are more endearing. So you mistake a lot of them. I'm telling you right now, because most of the time it's an endearing thing.
And I get that, but I also see with Sherrie when I can tell when she's struggling, and there are times that it just came to me the most important thing. Let me rephrase this. When Sherrie and I first started down this path, she would tell me something, and it was my job to fix it. And I finally realized I couldn't fix it, and it wasn't my job. She wanted me to listen and to be there. And that's probably the most important thing that I think I can bring to the table at this point is it's not about fixing it. It's about listening and being there. And sometimes it's, I know you're, putting my hand on her shoulder and say, I know you're struggling and I'm here, whatever I can do. And if that means leave you alone, I got it.
That's really profound, Gary. That is a really profound statement that fixing your partner's trauma is not your job. Trisha?
No, but I felt like it was, for sure.
I did too, but it's not.
So he already took your
Yes.
answer, is what you're telling
No. Can you please rephrase the question?
me. If you're on a train leaving Missouri and you're heading to New Jersey and the train's going 60 miles an hour, how long?
You know I can't answer
You
that.
wanted me to rephrase the question. I did.
You said you weren't going to make me look like an idiot.
I don't think anybody can answer that question. So what's one thing that you would want other people to know about living with a partner with trauma?
Okay. You absolutely know if they're willing, they're worth fighting for.
Oh,
Yeah, you absolutely know. I remember saying again to a therapist, I'm like, is there something wrong with me that I'm with a man that talks to me this way and that spits at my feet when we're going for a jog together? Like, what's wrong with me? She says, nothing. That he is such a hard worker and he's trying to get better. He always tried. Like you never gave up.
I don't have it in me.
I'm not saying because I'm the best thing. It's just your nature. You don't give up on things.
I don't throw anything away,
Mhm.
and which you know all too well.
Yeah.
I don't. I refuse.
So he always tried a little harder and harder. And I just, yeah, that's.
So we are coming to the end of this thing here.
see already, Trisha, our time's up.
I
So you
know,
made it.
that
You
went
made it. You
fast.
survived. Trisha was really nervous about doing this show. Do you have any social media websites that you want to throw out there, Gary? You got anything?
I do not.
Lucky you.
We've got nothing.
Lucky you. We'll just run everything through Sherry's website.
That'll work.
Trisha, why don't you give out your information, where we can
Sure.
find you, where we can find your supplements from Unicity, all that stuff.
Again, going back to what I dealt with, with my therapist, I always want to make sure, like, am I depressed? Do I need medication? And the doctor I was seeing at the time, she says, girl, you work out way too much. She says, keep on working out because working out really helps you. It clears my mind. The day after you were shot at, I think I was on the treadmill running. I put the kids in the kids club. A police officer came up to me. Rich, and said, "Wasn't your husband just shot at?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's fine now."
You want to feel old. That same
Yeah.
officer's
Oh my
son is now a cop in
Yes.
town, which is crazy.
So, yes.
But where can we find you?
You can TrishaDonaldson.com. We have amazing FDA approved protocol that we put our women on and men. We have fabulous supplementation that really helps lower your cholesterol naturally. We're all about getting off those drugs. Sorry, pharmaceutical companies, but our program really works to help women have great energy and lower cholesterol naturally.
And lose weight.
Absolutely.
And lose weight. That's the big
and make
thing.
you feel great.
So out of 230 shows, I've ended each show the same way. And it comes down to one simple question. You've witnessed suffering on the other end, which in turn has given you some suffering. And if you haven't learned anything from it, it's a really wasted opportunity. So Trisha, I'm going to start with you, and I want to know, what has your suffering of living with a partner with trauma taught you?
Keep fighting for the person in your life that's hurting. And when somebody is walking around angry and upset, we don't come out of the womb angry. There's a reason. They're hurting.
Gary, what do you think it's taught you?
I think it's about control. And I like to have control over things. And I recognize that Sherrie needs control over things. And I really recognize that my need for control is not nearly as important as her need for control.
And it's all an illusion.
And it's an illusion. You're exactly right. I don't have control over it anyway, but deferring things to her, she will tell me, I don't know anything about this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. But as you've mentioned earlier, she's amazingly strong, and she actually does things she wouldn't expect her to be able to do. And letting her take control of those things is actually relieving to me, because I don't have to be in control of those things.
So I believe, I don't want to speak for you, so please speak up if I'm misspeaking here.
I'm ready.
I strongly believe, and I've said this numerous times in numerous places, the true hero of my story is Trisha, and the true hero of Sherrie's story is you, Gary.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important, because while we have gone through these things, we could have never done it alone. I'm going to tell you right now, if I didn't have my wife or my kids, I'm out. And that's fine. That's fine. You know, Will had said something to me from Clay County, Missouri. He said, I passively tried to kill myself for 10 years. And I've done that. Like, I jumped out of airplanes. I did wheelies on motorcycles, doing 70 miles an hour down major highways. And I passively tried to kill myself for most of my life. And unfortunately, fortunately, I failed. So we want to thank you both for coming in and doing this. I know it was tough for you. But it's time for you guys to share some of the spotlight, because
absolutely,
we want you guys, we're tired of the control. We want to give you guys the control.
Oh, you're not speaking for her.
Sherrie, thank you so much for coming in and sitting by me on this one.
Oh,
that way,
I'm honored to sit here.
Trisha gets angry, you can keep her in check, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, the suffering of living with a partner with trauma. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Oh, God, there's
we learned a lot.
The signs always rear their head. The real heroes are the ones that stand by us. You can't understand the understandable. Fixing a partner's trauma is not your job, but most importantly, they're worth fighting for. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, OnlyFans.
OnlyFans for Mike.
Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. Follow Sherrie at the Sherrie Allsup. And of course, follow The Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.